And we should be live. Hello, powerful souls. Please give me a thumbs up in the comments if you can actually hear me. Just plugged in the microphone. It was spinning a lot today. Don't know why that's happened the last couple of weeks, but thank you so much for being here. I can see people already attending, but I just don't know if you can hear me. So just give me the thumbs up here in the chat if okay, I see one thumbs up but I want to just see it in the chat. Somebody, if you guys can hear me, just make sure the microphone is working, but I'm going to assume that we're all good. So hello, thank you so much for joining me. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Daisy. And then also when you're putting your comments in here, I know it has your YouTube name, but please put your real name so it's easier for me to address you in the comments. But this show is about you. Wake Up Wednesday Live is here for you to be able to ask in real time any questions that you have. You can ask me anything. I feel like no topic is off limits. I'll talk about anything. But the way that I always begin these is I give you guys time to start putting comments in the chat, and you can communicate with each other, whatever you want to do. But I'll start by sharing the synchronicities that I had this week because I did have a couple of good ones. But before I go into the synchronicities, I feel like I want to address the video that Kristen Hustead did where she has been channeling a being of light named Sophia, who identifies herself as wisdom of ages. And Kristen came to me back in November, actually at the beginning of December, and said that she had been getting these channelings from Sophia. And Sophia had been giving warnings about a major earthquake and earth rift that would happen in California. And she was given a date. And Kristen was very, very freaked out by this because she's never, ever shared publicly any kind of date. That's not how she works with her personal intuition. But she was being urged daily and then weekly by this entity to share this date as a warning that there would be something that would happen in California. And here we are, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything that's happened on any large scale in California on an earthquake level. So I'm super happy about that. Nobody wants this to happen. I did personally prepare, but I want to share that as I began to gather items, and I've never been any type of a prepper in any way, but I did get a very small generator that would run small appliances and things like, you know, charging your phone or your internet if internet worked. I did get a very small pitcher that would allow me to filter water, and I stocked up on some food and made sure I had gas and dog food for my dog. But once I did all that, I felt like any fear or trepidation that I was having around this really went away. And I would say that probably happened about a week ago, but I did get a lot of personal signs from my spirit team over and over again referencing San Francisco. So I don't know what this means. When Chris and I did this, we talked on the video about time being very different on the other side. I've always felt very cautious whenever I've spoken to a medium and they give me some time constraint. I've had situations where they would say, oh, this person is going to come into your life, and they'll get a calendar out and they'll go through it and they'll say, oh, it's happening in the month of May of 2026, and May will come and go and it will usually not happen. And I feel that that's because time is like this on the other side, where time is very linear for us on this side. So I'd love to hear your comments about this. The reason I had Kristen come and share this on the show is because she felt very strongly that she wanted to warn people in case something did happen. She didn't feel like if she held the information and then something happened that she would be able to live with herself for holding the information. She also felt very nervous about sharing the information because there were people even in her family who did not want her to share this, who thought this message was very negative and wasn't of the greater good. And she just ultimately defaulted to what her heart led her to do, which was to share this message. So I really and truly believe in Kristen. I've known her for 6 years. I have witnessed her give evidential readings to people over and over and over again. So I don't want to shoot the messenger with this. And the other thing that's really interesting about this period in time, what we are calling the Great Awakening, is also that there are a lot of things happening on a planetary scale, like very unusual and unique energy sequence patterns that are happening with planets and conjunctions of planets. So, from what I understand, Saturn is coming into conjunction with Neptune. This has not happened for 6,000 years on this planet. But also, the way that the planets are aligned right now has been very revolutionary. Somebody mentioned that the planets were aligned in 1776, and there was a lot of revolutionary things going on. I know that there's chaos in the world, as there is always chaos in the world. I hear little glimpses from people. I sometimes, because I am on YouTube, I'll see a thumbnail and I'll get an idea of what's going on. So I know that there's a lot of things happening right now, but just because something hasn't happened yet right now in February, Stephen Burns, the geophysicist, has been saying since January the 4th that there was a lot of energy around the rifts in, or the tectonic plates off of the coast of Oregon, and also along that fault line. I think it's the San Andreas fault line in San Francisco. And there was a day in, I think it was maybe the 4th of January, when he was reporting this, that there were a couple hundred earthquakes, small earthquakes. So I always pray that any disaster is averted. And the other thing I always wonder, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments about this. Oh, hi, Steph. My sister's here. Oh, I love it. Steph, you make me want to cry that you show up for these. Like, seriously, she works for me. She spends half the day trying to find guests for me. And then here it is, like, it's her evening time to spend time with her husband and her dog, and she comes on my live show. Like, how much do I love my sister? Please shout out to her. That's Stephanie Teeter in the comments. She is the one who uses her intuition to get the guests for this show. So I feel like this is a very collaborative effort. I might be the face of the show, but I certainly do not do this by myself. So anyway, so thank you, Stephanie, for being here. So anyway, the other thing that I think we'll find over time is that there are planetary things that are going on, and who knows, maybe something happens in this window of time also. But in any case, I feel like there's a possibility that there could have been a shift, a dimensional shift. I've talked about this for a really, really long time on my channel, that when it doesn't take the entire collective or even 50%, this isn't like when you are taking a vote and you need a majority in order to win. You can make and feel a massive change or movement in the collective with a less than 20% uptake of an idea. And this has been proven scientifically over and over again. So there is a possibility that just this mass awareness, because Kristen was not the only one talking about February of 2026. There were many, many channelers who mentioned things in their videos and talked specifically about the 20th of February and all these other planetary alignments and dates. So just because it didn't happen doesn't mean also that our collective could have shifted and averted what was destined to happen at the moment that it was being communicated. And I'm not trying to give anybody an out, but like I said, I know Kristen personally. I believe in her so much. She was on our live last week, and she just, with a very, very heavy heart, shared this to begin with. So anyway, I'll come to the comments here in a few minutes, but I'm going to share my synchronicities, and I want to share a big win on the channel. Like, I am so grateful today because I hit a milestone with the subscribers, and we hit 20,000 subscribers today. And I think that this is magnificent because I did a little bit of research in the analytics today, and I saw that 78% of all people who watch this channel over the last year are not subscribed. So that means that 20,000 people is only the small minority of the people who are actually watching the channel. I don't really make a massive big deal and an appeal in subscribing. I love it when people subscribe. The reason I subscribe to channels is because it's really hard to remember where you saw a video. And when I find content that I really like and I want to enjoy it, I might not watch their content every week. Maybe I'm only watching something once a month, but I use subscribe to be able to go back and find content that I want to consume later on in the future. So, you know, people use things different ways, but it still does tell the algorithm, tells the algorithm that people are engaging and people like it. And really, really, like, seriously, think about a stadium, and a stadium that held 20,000 people. Like, you look around and that's a massive amount of people. Like, if you were in a concert and you were the band and you sold out a stadium with 20,000 people, like, how excited would you be? Like, so excited, right? So this is a super big blessing and an amazing milestone. And I'm so happy to have so many people who are engaging with these amazing NDE stories. And we just recently had somebody who channeled the Akashic records in Lisa. And I just feel so lucky to be able to have these conversations and then to share them with you. So blessed. Thank you very much. Okay, and then I'm going to share, I have been saying it since I started, but I am going to share the synchronicities. I don't have a lot like I did last week. I have a couple of really small ones that I think are so cool. Okay, so in addition to hitting 20,000 subscribers, I am on a mission to get to the point where I get to leave my corporate job behind and devote all of my time, energy, and attention to this channel. I have so many things that I want to do. I want to build a community. I want to be able to do retreats at some point in time. I've been talking to some of these amazing NDEers and channelers who I've had on my channel, and there are several of us who want to get together and curate these really special experiences for like-minded souls who want to go and travel either to Sedona or to some other sacred site somewhere around the world and have these amazing experiences. So I'm working on that. But in order to do that, I've got to leave the corporate job behind. So one of the things that happened yesterday was that I finally, after a lot of work, paid off my house. And I had sold my house after my kids left and downsized to a smaller house. And then I worked really, really, really hard to be able to pay this off. And so yesterday I had the release deed form that I needed to take downtown Phoenix to file so that the house then becomes completely titled in my name. And I had planned to do this in the morning, kind of around my work calls. And I was delayed. I kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And I was getting delayed so late that I was afraid I wasn't going to have time to get all the way downtown and then come back for the interview that I had at noon my time. But I decided it was really important to do this yesterday. And so I got in my car. I was not even 4 minutes away from my house. And I took a picture of the license plate that I drove up to. And I think you can all see this. It is Angel 555. So I thought, wow, what a sign, what a synchronicity. Whenever I am late, I try to say to myself, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Whenever my plans get messed up, which happens fairly often, I try to say to myself, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I feel like a lot of times I am rewarded by seeing something. And the reason a license plate resonates so strongly with me as a sign is because when you see a license plate, you must be in a very particular place and time to see that. If you left your house 1 minute earlier, 5 minutes later, you would miss that likely because that car is only in your path for this set amount of time. If you hit the lights the wrong way, you may never see a license plate. So when I see them, I know that they are divinely orchestrated, especially when it has the word angel in it and 555. So I was lucky. I went downtown. I found a parking spot right away. It had 11 seconds of time, 11 minutes, sorry, of time on the meter, which is really enough for me to go do what I needed to do and get back in my car. And then I was late to my interview by 7 minutes, but I let the woman I interviewed know that I was going to be late. And as soon as I got on, I was telling her about my sign. And she shared with me that that was incredible because she's a channeler and Archangel Metatron was there to be channeled. So we had an amazing conversation. So who knew when I left my house that morning that I was going to be talking to Archangel Metatron, getting messages for you, for the collective, for everybody. And then I got an email from the woman who I interviewed. Her name is Vicky, and she emailed me and said, after our interview, I ran an errand and I saw a license plate in front of me that said 555. So remember, here was mine, Angel 555. What are the chances that somebody living in Utah and somebody living in Arizona on the same day who channeled and talked to Archangel Metatron saw a license plate that says 555? Like zero. None. Zero chances. So I feel so happy that I get to share these signs and synchronicities with you guys. It's such a fun outlet for me to do this. And I would love to hear your signs and synchronicities if you have something big or little, something meaningful for you, because I always say, my signs and synchronicities confirm yours, yours confirm mine. I mean, we're all connected, right? So, all right. See what you guys want to talk about today. Look at how active everybody is in the comments. I'm so happy. I love this. I think this might be my 5th live. So I've been so looking forward to connecting with you guys this way. I also would love to know if I could curate a live that would allow you guys to turn on your camera and speak and ask a question verbally instead of having to type it in the comments. Is this something that you guys would do? Would you jump on camera? Would you ask a question? Would you show your face? I know it takes a little bit more. We got to get camera ready, right, if we're going to do this. But is this something that you guys would like? So let me know. I want to hear from you. I want to curate things that you're interested in. Okay, Laura, first time here. Thank you so much for joining. Um, Oh, authenticity. It's Catherine. Hi, Catherine. How are you? By the way, authenticity is in the comments, and she had her own experience with her twin sister, and it's beautiful, beautiful experience. You should go and get the link if you can, because I can't do it right now. Or Steph, if either of you can go on the channel and get the link for Catherine's NDE and put it in the channel chat right now, in the live chat. I think people would love to watch, would love to watch her video. I love to connect with people who are on here. Okay, let's see. Just watched the latest video and heard about the Wednesday thing, so I'm here now. Oh, that's so great. I love that. That's wonderful. Enjoying the rain. Okay, Buddha Cat, who are you? What's your name? And where are you that you're enjoying the rain? I too am enjoying the rain. You know what's so cool about living in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area? I spent most of my life in the Midwest. I lived in Illinois, I lived in Iowa, and I lived in Kansas, not in that order. But we had rain quite a bit, and people get grumpy when it's going to rain, when it's going to snow. When I moved to Arizona, I was grumpy the first time it rained because it rained the second day that I got here, and it rained like 3 days in a row after I was anticipating great weather. But now that I've been living here for a long time, we have these long stretches with no rain, and people are happy here all the time. Number one, the sun shines most of the time, and I find that in places where the sun shines, people tend to be happier. But people get giddy and excited when it's going to rain in Arizona because it doesn't happen very frequently. So I feel like Arizona is one of the happiest places to live because it doesn't matter what the weather is like. People seem to be happy no matter what the circumstances are, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a fun place to live. Heather, oh my gosh, you guys, listen. Heather Tesh is in the house. Beyond, I'm going to hype you for a minute, Heather, because I love you so much. Heather Tesh and I got to meet at the IONS conference in Arizona, and then we got to really connect at the IONS conference in Chicago. Stephanie hung out with us. We had breakfast together, and now Heather and I are part of a creators group that we meet once a month to talk about our YouTube channels. We're all doing the same thing. So in business, we would be looked at as competitors, right? Because Heather has her own channel. She's interviewing NDEers. But no, what do? we collaborate with each other, we share with each other, we help each other because we're all doing the same job. And Heather asked me to be on her show. So I did an interview with her, and she just messaged me right before the live and said it's dropping at 5:45 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I think that that's Eastern time, Heather's time. So 5:45 a.m. Eastern. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about my 5-MeO DMT journeys. We talked about Signs and Synchronicities. We talked about NDEs. So it was an amazing conversation. And guess what? Heather's going to return the favor, come on my show, and we are going to talk about how we've been affected by all of these interviews that we've done over the years, talking about NDEs. And by the way, Heather is so kick-ass. She does this full time. She has 72,000 subscribers, and she works so hard. This, like, you guys have no idea, Stephanie does, but these channels are a lot. They really are. But I can't even believe that Heather is joining me for my life, since this is like a busman's holiday for her joining these. But I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy everybody is here. Yeah, Dave, I hear you. Glad that it didn't happen today. And he's referring to, of course, the California prediction. So, um, Catherine, thank you. 20,000 is awesome. You're spreading so much light and love. Well, I would like to say we are spreading so much light and love, because this channel is nothing without everybody who tunes in to watch. And of course, all the amazing guests who share their experiences. And I know it takes so much for people to be vulnerable and sharing the experiences. And for the most part, like 99% of the comments are so wonderful and kind and loving. I rarely have anybody that's a jerk in the comments, or anybody that I have to hide or ban from the channel. I have had to do that before, but I really try not to do that. I always feel that even if somebody says something that I would perceive as being negative, it still helps, because it tells YouTube that there's engagement. And the other part is, like, we've all been on a different journey at different points in time. We're all right here, right now, because we have a similar mindset, or we're opening up, or we're curious about what happens when we die, what this life and this purpose really is. And so we're at a similar vibrational frequency, but we all haven't been here. And there was a time when I was super religious, going to a Baptist church. I remember really subscribing to some of the things in the Bible and kind of hoping for the end times, because it'd be like that would teach them. And that was such a negative way. And it was, I see now when I look back, that the church had really perpetuated like that kind of a scenario. They were very judgmental about other religions. And I remember these books came out all about the end times. And I can remember standing in line at Sam's Club buying this trilogy of books and getting the authors to sign all of them, because I really believed that that was going to happen. And I am so far away from that person in that place. And so when somebody comes on the channel, I kind of feel like there's no accident. And even if they're saying something that's very religious in their comments, or judging somebody else's experience because it doesn't align with their view of how they think it works when somebody dies and who goes where, I always just think, what if this channel brought them, or they were brought here so that they could maybe be open to another perception, to another idea, to another vibration, and we're just all helping each other no matter where anybody is. So love to hear what you think about that too. Okay, let's see. Oh, Kelly. Okay, Kelly. I shout out to Kelly. Kelly, you are so active in my comments, and I appreciate you very much. I mean, I have so many people here that are really, really on here a lot. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Oh, you're in Austin. Okay, Austin, Texas. Okay, did you hear about Kristen Hustead's channeled message about an earth rift in the Ring of Fire, San Francisco? Just wondering if you have received any messages talking about this. Okay, so I'm not a channeler in the sense that I hear or perceive anything outside of me that would be something that I would call like an evolved being, a light being from another dimension, or anything like that. The way things work for me personally is I am claircognizant. So if you look at all the clairs, we have clairvoyant, clear vision, clairaudient, clear hearing. Claircognizant is clear knowing. So sometimes I just get, I'll call it a hit, and I'll just know something. And I often say, I don't know how I know, I just know. And then other times I will get a clear download, and I can discern the difference between a download and my own thoughts. Because if I have a thought, let's say I'm thinking about something that I want to create and I'm hiking and I have this thought, if I do not stop and write that down at that exact moment, in 5 minutes, I probably can't even remember what I was thinking about, let alone the very specific thought that I had. When I get a download, it's just there. So, for example, when my great love Mark had died and he had been gone for 2 years, the April after his death, he came to me in a dream and told me he was most proud of our story, our love story. And the next day, I began getting a chapter. It formed in my mind, and I just transcribed it. Another time while I was writing on the book, I got the chapter about how I got the news that he died. And I was 2 miles away from my car, and I didn't have any pen or paper, and I didn't have time to stop and type something on my phone. But it didn't matter. I didn't have to try and keep that idea in my mind. It was just there. And when I got to my car, I just jotted it down as if somebody was speaking it to me. It was just in my own head. So I don't know if that's the way that things work for you guys. So to answer your question of whether I get channeled information confirming the messages that Kristen has, it just doesn't quite work that way for me. It's a little bit different. Whereas Stephanie, my sister, is very intuitive. She also is an empath, so she'll feel people's emotions where I don't really have that. I might get a feeling about something, or a feeling about how somebody is, but I don't take on an emotion and feel like it's mine. Or she gets downloads and she connects with spirits. She's a medium and she will hear spirits talk to her. So we all receive things very differently, but that doesn't work that way for me. But that's a great question. Okay, Catherine says, Laurie, you have a magnetic pull. Heather, I just love the direction that you've taken your channel, and it's been really fun watching your channel grow. It's awesome that you are working together. I know, isn't it awesome? I feel like my life is so magical. It's magical. Stephanie said, yes, Laurie has interviews with Kristen. Okay, and then Catherine said, I really, really look forward to the interview about how this has affected you, Heather. Oh, yes. And you've been through so much, talking to so many people. It's truly amazing. It is truly amazing. Let's see. Uh, Antique Agenda. Did Laurie receive any of those messages? Okay, I see. None. Okay. Kelly says, hello, Laurie, Heather. Love listening to you both. Kelly Scott. Thank you so much for being here. Kelly, you are in the comments for every single video. I smile so big every time I see your name. I'm just so happy that you give so much attention to this channel. Like, how blessed am I to get attention from anybody who watches these? It's just amazing. Thank you. And then Tamara Terry. So is your name Tamara Terry? You have been my favorite podcast lately. Thank you. So many people say, oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Kelly Scott said, I was told to ask for a specific thing from spirit. So I asked my mom in spirit, show me a hummingbird. A week later, a hummingbird was stuck in my garage. Oh, wow. And let me pick it up and free it. Like, how special. Again, when these synchronicities and signs happen to you, you not only see it with your mind, but I feel like you feel it in your body, in your heart, in your solar plexus, in one of the energy centers of your body. It's so much more than just a random, you see something. I feel like you feel it. And I could kind of feel that, if that makes any sense, when you were describing it. So, Tammy, hi, Tammy. Thank you for joining us. Another one who I get to see in the comments all the time. So supportive. Always late, but always excited to be here. Hi. Oh, great videos this weekend. Okay. So I'm going to wait for some more comments, and we've been on here for 30 minutes. And I thought today I want to share something that I've been sharing a little bit more. It's interesting. This week, I had two interactions with people. One is a super close friend of mine who I see on a weekly basis, who is also very spiritual, but he comes to my house and he owns the pool business that services the pool. And we've just become friends over time because he's really super spiritual, and he does readings for astrology and just super connected. And he asked me this super deep question. He was like, after you've done all these NDEs, what do you think this earth is all about? Like, why are we here? What is our purpose? And then in the same day, 5 hours later, a friend of mine who I went to grade school with, who I've known since I was 7 years old, we were in first grade together. I see him once a year when I'm going through Iowa, where I grew up when I was little, on my way to my cabin, and he happened to be in town. And last night we went out for a drink after he was done with his work meetings, and he asked me the exact same question, and I wound up telling the same story twice. And I cannot remember if I shared this on Heather's podcast in a small way. I don't know that I shared it as deeply as I'd really love to share it tonight, or if I shared it on Lisa's. So Heather, did I share my three trilogy movie theory about what this world is, about what this experience is? I thought I would share this today because I would really, really love to take this part of the live and maybe make its own standalone video, so that I can share this with a bigger collective. It's an idea that I've been forming over, I don't know, maybe I feel like the last 6 months. It's been very connected to these journeys that I've taken to the other side, where I have become the source of all things. And oh, I casually mentioned it, non-detail. Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna, if you guys are okay with this, I would love to just share this here tonight. It's a little bit long. It's probably a 10 or 15 minute explanation, and you guys are welcome to challenge it, to ask me questions. And before I share it, I'm going to say to everybody, please take in what resonates, leave behind what does not. What's true for me is true for me, because these are my personal experiences. And when I go to the other side and have these experiences, I feel like I look behind the curtain a little bit further, a little bit deeper. But the more I look behind the curtain, it actually opens up other questions that I don't have answers to. So the more I uncover and feel like I understand, the more questions I actually have about some of the nuances of other things that I can't quite put together in the puzzle piece. And I don't know that I will ever put it all together. I don't think that there's anybody on this planet. I don't care if you're an ascended master. I don't know that anybody can be in an earth experience with an earth brain and get the answers to everything, because I don't know that we are all meant to know it all. So without further ado, here goes my 3-movie trilogy explanation of what this earth experience is and why I think we are here and what I think we are. Okay, part 1 of the trilogy. So when you talk about a movie trilogy, think about movie trilogies that you know. The Matrix, Star Wars. There is no good, better, best. You'll always be able to talk to people who are like, oh my gosh, movie 1 was the best of the Matrix and I hated the third movie. But they do build on each other, right? They're a story that builds on the previous context. So this is why I feel like this is a great way to explain what I understand from being on the other side, the Earth experience. So part 1 of the movie trilogy is Planet Earth. Planet Earth is us incarnating and having a human experience. I really and truly believe, and this has been confirmed by so many NDEers, that you are this very, very powerful soul who came here with an agenda. Like, you came here and you're like, here's my soul contract. I want to learn all of these things. And I'm going to have all these experiences. And if I want to learn all these things and have these experiences, in order to do that, I have to build my life in a certain way. I need to have a body that has certain features to it. So, for example, the Laurie body, if it had a beautiful singing voice, I probably have enough ambition that I would have pursued a singing career and I wouldn't be doing any of this. So I knew when I was building this that I had to sound terrible. Ask my sister. I know all the words to the songs, but I am not a good singer, nor will I ever be, no matter how many lessons I could have in my lifetime. But again, by design, because some of these things, if we had them or didn't have them, would turn out to be distractions and take us in different directions, right? So we pick it all. We pick our body, what we're going to look like, what our intelligence is going to be, and then we decide where we need to live in the world. Some of us need to have an experience where we're here in North America. Others might choose an Ireland experience or an Australia experience or whatever it is. But it's all important because there is a vibration to each area that we pick. But then the most important thing that we pick is the parents that have us, because they contain the genetic features that are going to likely help us achieve certain things. Those parents could be in the picture. Maybe you instead, because of their circumstances, were raised by somebody else, like a grandparent. Maybe you had to be adopted out, and you had to pick the parents that would potentially be adopting you. But you pick it all. Like, you are not a victim of what you have experienced in your human incarnation, in this avatar, where you live and what happens to you. And I'll give a very quick example of something that I think will help make sense, because I'm sure anybody watching is, but what if this, but what if this, but what if this? Why would somebody pick something negative or bad? Why would somebody pick a parent that was going to abuse them? The nuance that I don't understand is, did you pick a parent that was going to abuse you so that maybe later on you could become a social worker who could help other people who had to go through the same experiences that you did? Or did that person that you pick have a propensity towards that abuse, and they used their free will and went off the rails in their soul contract and just did something that you knew was a possibility but wasn't necessarily a 100% probability? So those are the nuances that I'm probably never going to understand in this lifetime, the free will and how that interacts and all of those things. But within the earth experience, this to me also includes NDEs that had human like experiences. Okay, so if an NDEer went to the other side and they sat down on a bench and they saw grass and flowers, they saw an angel, they saw an entity with a human figure who they identified as Jesus, they saw a crystal city, they saw a passed away loved one who lived here on this planet and is now on the other side. If they saw mountains and butterflies and had any experience that is human, to me, that is still part of the part one of the human trilogy movie experience, because it all still has a humanness to it. And that's not taking away, again, this is not a good, better, best. It doesn't take away from those NDEs, because each one of those NDEs has the ability to wake somebody up in a different way. And I feel that NDEs are as unique as people are unique. But that would be very conclusive of what I think of as part one Earth trilogy. Okay, so let's move on to part two of the movie trilogy. This is where things change and they don't look as human. So, for example, if we're having an NDE and somebody goes to the place that they would describe as the black void, they still have an experience that's siloed. They still feel like an individual. They have their thoughts. They know that they were a human body. They know that they are a soul. They don't have a figure, so they don't look human to themselves. They're expansive, or they can feel a connection to other souls, but they're still in this place of creation, like a thought creation. This would also include NDEs where people had an experience with an energy being. So maybe they said, I saw Jesus, but it was a ball of energy, a ball of light. I saw the face of God, but it was this light that was not blinding, but brighter than anything I can describe. And I felt the love. And in that human NDE experience, people will still feel that love. But again, this is a different perception. It wakes people up. It helps people to understand things in a different way. Again, not a good, better, best, just a different. This, to me, part 2 trilogy would also include experiences outside of our dimension. I hear people all the time explaining how there are different dimensions and different frequencies, and they feel them. I had somebody whose interview was released today on the channel, and he talked about all these OBEs, and he went into these portals, and he was not a human figure. He knew he was a soul, but he had experiences with a 2D reality, and he described how they looked so different than how we look in a 3D. And he described that he was in portals that took him to different dimensions, different galaxies, different places where there were different beings. They didn't look like us. There have been plenty of NDEers who have seen past lives where maybe they were Octurian or reptilian, or name any type of ET group that you've ever heard of. These would all be part of this part 2 trilogy. They're still building on the human connection, but they're adding in these elements that aren't human-like. So for me, when I first started having these experiences on the other side, I would become what I've described as my higher self. And a lot of NDEers talk about their higher self. When I left my body, because the DMT that I use is a mediator that releases you from your body, I immediately became super expansive. And when I looked at myself with whatever eyes, I don't know if it's a third eye or how it works, I didn't have a form that looked human. I didn't see arms. I saw a grid-like pattern. It's hard to describe what this is. I haven't seen anything in any visual form that I could use other than it's like a grid that didn't have structure to it. So it wasn't like they were lines that were spaced equal distance or anything like that. But it also had a color to it. There was an iridescence and colors that I can't describe. And if I were to say a size that I was, like I could say, I weighed a certain amount on Earth and I'm a certain height, my size would be like the size of the planet. It wasn't contained. But I still had these individual thoughts of, I knew I was a higher self, and I was shown different truths in that place over time. I had that experience probably of being my higher self maybe 10 or 12 times. One of the experiences I had was that I was shown that the amount of the soul that I brought into this human incarnation would equal what my pinky fingernail was. And I've had NDEers talk about that as well. I think that we don't need to have very much of this very powerful soul that we are in our human incarnation, because we are not having one experience from that higher souled being. I think that we are multidimensional, and maybe it's true that you get to a decision point, go to college, don't go to college, and there's a part of you that your attention stays with where you're in college, but there's a dimension that exists that branched off where you had an experience, you didn't go to college, or marry this person, don't marry this person, have kids, don't have kids, die in this pool drowning, don't die in this pool drowning. So I think that it's a possibility. I haven't seen that personally, but I've had lots of people talk about it. But all of those would be in this part 2 trilogy of this movie scenario. Okay, part 3, last one. Part 3 of the trilogy is what I feel is the real reality of what we are. And in that place, we no longer have a viewpoint of being siloed and singular. We refer to ourselves as the we, the collective. And I've had lots and lots of people I've talked to on this channel who have been in this place. I had one person describe being this massive energy and looking into what they called the face of source. And the face of source was, again, like a light and an energy that they couldn't describe with words, but they would periodically see little pinpricks point up to the surface. And it was as if there were individual souls, but they were so contained within the whole that he said, and they think this is Aaron Green's NDE, he said he felt like they were annoyed that they had to come to the surface and almost individualized for a second before they sank back in and became all of it. And I had a few experiences where I experienced this as this collective, and the name that was intuited to me in that place was the we. But the last maybe 6 of these experiences that I've had on the other side, I have only been one thing, and that is what I would call source. And I know that this is probably hard for people to understand if they haven't experienced something like this before. And the thing that's really difficult is that words are not adequate to describe something that doesn't exist on this earth plane. So I want to say it like this: you, me, we are all source, having a Tammy, a Catherine, a Heather, a Stephanie experience, having a Laurie experience, having a Blaze, my dog sitting next to me sleeping experience, having an experience as this phone, as this pen, as the rock outside, as the cactus outside, as the blade of grass. It's all of it. And if you can think of it this way, people use the ocean analogy a lot, and they're always saying, oh, we're drops of ocean, we're drops of water in the ocean. But I like this description better. I feel like as source, we are a wave. Every single wave has an individual property. There would never be the same wave twice. Very unique, just like we are as this higher soul when we become an individual. And I think that we're this ocean of energy of source, and the wave comes up and it peaks out. It's still part of the ocean, it's still source, and it has the human experience. And then when it dies, it goes right back in and is part of the whole again. And it never was separate. It was always source looking out of the eyes of Laurie, source looking out of the eyes of everybody who's watching, source looking out of the eyes of everything, because there was nothing it was not. And to give context to this power of source, this power is, I call it an undulation of energy. So here on earth, you have an awareness of direction, right? You could say things are going out from me north, south, east, and west, diagonal in this direction. Like if you had points of light that could shoot out in every direction around you, right? It would be in every direction. Not only was source's energy like that, but it was an undulation, and it moved in ways that we do not have properties to describe in the earth realm, because energy isn't allowed to move in that way in this space. So that's why this energy is so difficult to understand. But the power of the energy is even harder to explain, because I say source is like the power of 1,000,000,000 suns, which again sounds ridiculous when I say it, because can I really, in my human Laurie-ness, understand the power of the sun that is, what is it, 22 million light years away? No, I really can't. But I understand at some conceptual level that it's very, very powerful. Do I really understand the number billion when I say that? I understand that there are 8 billion people on the planet, but my mind isn't really capable of conceiving of a number that large. But I'm telling you, the power of source is so powerful. It is like 1,000,000,000 suns, and I am understating the power of it. Source lives in this state of eternity. Eternity is not a time constraint. Eternity is a state of being. And it is this ever present, perfect moment. Source to me felt like, if I were going to give it a identity connected to gender, I would say it was 51% female and 49% male. However, the power of it felt at the same time a complete merging of both like power and femininity. It's just like so excruciatingly beautiful. And although source doesn't have a form because it's just this energy, if you could see the face, the smile that it has on its face at all times that I have experienced as it is like not a smile that you would look at and say, oh, that's a beautiful smile. You would say, it's the weirdest smile I have ever seen. It would be like looking at somebody as they were having an ecstatic, orgasmic experience, an orgasm or something to that effect. Like how, I mean, most of us probably have been in an experience where we've seen somebody doing that and they don't look exactly attractive, but they are in the state of ecstasy that you know is undeniable. That was how source felt to me when I was source. And the knowledge coming from this being isn't knowledge the way that we have it on earth. It's not as if you know things like math formulas or you've memorized every fact that there is to know about the earth, or you understand all the essence of quantum mechanics. It is more than that. It is just a complete, utter understanding that there's nothing that's missing. There is nothing that Source needs to learn. There is nothing that Source doesn't already understand. There's nothing that it's missing. It doesn't really need to come here to experience that which it is not, because that is a complete polar misrepresentation of what source is, because there's nothing that it isn't. There's nothing it doesn't understand. So I'll use this analogy because it seems to resonate when I say it. If source said, I'm going to go play a game of poker, as soon as it created the cards, it already knew everything about the cards. It knew every position the cards were ever going to be in any game it was ever going to play, because it's omnipotent. It knows there's nothing it doesn't know. So Source could not play a game of poker because it would be a moot point. There's no point to it. It already knows everything. It created it all. So going back to that wave that I think happens when we become the part one trilogy Earth experience, it, for the joy of the experience, is having an earth experience. And I know that this is probably hard to understand when I say that, because when I am talking about this experience, and it seems like it's really hard when we're here, right? We experience pain, we experience tragedy, loss, we experience these joyful moments when we have our children and we get married and we fall in love and we have spend time with our pets and our loved ones. We sit in nature and we travel and we have these magnificent experience, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And I know that people say that we come here on a soul level to learn. And I think that that's true in the part one of the trilogy. Yeah, on a soul level, you're learning all kinds of things because you're playing a game, but really your source having an experience. You don't go to an amusement park to ride the roller coaster to learn about all the dynamics of how the air hits and how fast you could go and what it does in a G-force level and how it interacts in the organs of your body. Like, you don't go on a roller coaster ride. I mean, maybe some people do, but the majority of us go to an amusement park for the joy of the experience, to have an experience. And I really feel that this is just a joyful, and I shouldn't say just, I know I'm just not trying to minimize it. I'm sorry, my human words are so lacking, but source is having an experience, and you're all of it. We're all of it. It's all of us. It's not, there's nothing it is not. And I know that this is really hard to understand, because I'm sure that there's a lot of yes, but, yes, but, yes, but all the yes, buts can go back to part one of the trilogy having its own kind of a game. And the way that I've experienced Earth when I've been in that place, when I've been source. So when I am in that source and I'm experiencing the energy and I'm understanding the wisdom of it, I'm not having a human ego. I'm not even thinking. There's no thinking that's happening. I'm just being, because I'm eternity and love and in this magnificent state. But when I start to leave that place and my brain comes back online, the first thing I always think about is, where's Earth? And it has been intuited to me that Earth is so far away. It's like if you're in this black void space and you're here, Earth is like miles and miles and miles away. And if you could take your attention and direct it right there, and you would see that ball that's the Earth, it's so far away. And the word that is used and is communicated to me is inconsequential. And that is not meant to be a negative word. It just means, from the power of Source in all the experiences that Source could have, Earth to Source is a simple game. It would be like you sitting down playing a game that you created. If I were to give you this piece of paper and this pencil, pen, and a pair of scissors, and I would say to you, I want you to take this and I want you to go sit down and I want you to create a game to entertain yourself with for 1 hour. Do whatever you want, whatever makes sense. And then once you've done that, go off and play your game for 1 hour. Like, that would be so simple for you, right? Because you've had all this life experience and you've played way more complex games and escape rooms and strategy games in your careers. Like, that would be nothing for you. That's the analogy that I give to the Earth experience from Source's perspective. It is something that it created. But remember, on the soul level, in Trilogy 1, in Trilogy 2 especially, in Trilogy 2, your energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It just is. So on a soul level, nothing is ever harmed, even though it feels like it is. But I do feel like there's a joy. So what is the Earth experience? Why would Source create something like this? Why would this exist? I have had many, many ND ears ask this question on the other side. And if I feel like nobody has ever been able to bring the answer back, and I'm not saying I was privileged and Source said this answer and I'm bringing this back. I'm just explaining to you how I understand this. But people have said that when they are given the answer is so simple, it could have been summed up in a sentence. And even though they understood it and knew it in that place, they either weren't allowed to bring it back, or they forgot it, or there was something that was hidden about it. And I think that the Earth experience is for the joy of waking up. I really do. And so if you were going to pop popcorn in a microwave oven and you have all of the kernels in the bag before they've popped, and you put it in there and you set the timer, it takes a while before the first one pops, but then one does. And you're like, oh, yay, the popcorn is popping. And there's this like joyous feeling when you hear that first popcorn pop. And then more happen. And a bunch of them are happening simultaneously. And when they're all waking up, they remember that they're loved. They remember that they're powerful. They remember that they're creative beings of light, that they're all one thing, and that what we've done to another, we do to ourselves. The man whose interview I released today talks about prison planet, and he and I had very different viewpoints on what this planet is and what the experience is. And he said to me, well, I can't argue with you because these are your experiences, but if you say it's for the experience, there is no argument against it. And I get that, I understand that. But his point was kind of interesting. He said he thinks we're trapped here, and that if you could wake up, you would leave the planet. But this is where I completely disagree. I think when we wake up and we realize what we are, then we go into serve mode. We want to help everybody else because we understand that if you can unlock this key and you can hand the key to somebody else and they can unlock it too, there's this beautiful movement that happens when we remember that we are loved. When we remember that we are connected to everybody and everything, we act differently. Think about people who've had life reviews. They don't come back the same. They change everything about their life. Bubba Herrick, great example, had this life review. He came back. He reached out to every single person who he remembered having an experience with in that life review and apologized to them, even if he didn't think that they would feel that there had been anything that he had done wrong. He felt the need to go and apologize because he knew he could have done better. He could have shown up more in love. So, whew, that was a lot. And it's probably a lot for you guys to take, and that's a lot of energy. So I'm going to go to the comments. I don't care if I stay on a little bit longer tonight. All I have to do is interview or edit tonight. So I'm going to go back here and look at the comments. So thank you for staying with me while I explained all of that. And probably you have more questions now than you did before because it's so specific. Kelly said, I was told to ask for a specific thing from spirit. Okay, that's the hummingbird. That was the last thing I think I read. Interview with oh, I love the interview with Patrice. I know, how lovely was he? I needed to brush up on my French a little bit more. Oh, you booked a session. There were tons of people who said in the comment that they had had sessions with him and really loved it. So, oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that you wouldn't have heard without this. Heather said you casually, okay. Oh, the HCM. Oh, somebody was asking if Rebecca's on. I don't know. I didn't see. Okay, so you need to leave. I will watch this later. Yes, this is the beauty of these podcasts. Because they are lives that are on the channel, you can go to the playlist and there's a live playlist, and I absolutely make these all available for everybody on the channel. Rebecca, the abuser chose that too. They needed the experience. Yes, I agree. Again, but that's from the part one, but really, does source need the experience? I say no, but on a soul level, this is the part, the nuance that I don't understand. Like, how does that really work? What are we getting out of it? Because Christian Sundberg, one of my favorite experiencers, remembers planning this life before he came here, and he describes this scene where he's in the cosmos and he's like, dun, 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 you know, moving around the cosmos as this light being, and he comes upon another being who he'd never met before, and he was like, whoa, this being had an essence to them that was so beautiful, that was so refined, and he was like, whoa, how did you become this? And that soul said to him, I had a physical experience on earth. And he's like, I want to do that. And he was like, yeah, that's what everybody says. Go talk to your guides and see what happens. And so there are those experiences, but would that be part 2 of the movie trilogy? Is it just part of the game of the earth experience? I kind of think it is. All right, the dream detective says, when I see Jesus in dreams or visions, he has no face. It was explained that this is because in the spirit realm, we know each other's energetically. Yes, 1,000,000% yes. I have seen so many NDEs where they talk about this over and over again. I believe that to be a truth. Let's see. Oh, I misinterpreted your message. Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you for the thumbs up. The spiritual paradox between oneness and individuality is hard to practically fathom. Mind-blowing mystery. I agree. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for your love, the description. Thank you for the hearts. Undulation is a great word for the energy. Thank you. I love that word too. I think the sun as a spiritual metaphor is very helpful. Great. Very cool. Wait till you've been the other side. Oh, wait, you've been to the other side how many times? It's been 24 times right now. Tammy said you still have the glow. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to process all of this. All you're saying, this is exactly a sort of conclusion that I feel we are. Source is and what we are here experience for. Love it. No, that's okay, Donna. It doesn't matter. This will be released as soon as it processes. Sometimes it takes a couple hours for these lives to process through YouTube. It'll be available and you'll be able to watch it again. Tammy said inconsequential takes so much pressure off. Thank you for saying that. Again, does that go back to inconsequential kind of being the same meaning as it's all happening for me and not to me? Maybe. Authenticity says, yes, this is what I experienced, but it was during my SDE, which I think can be as real as these OBEs and Kundalini awakenings and even meditations when people get super deep. Like, there's no judgment on how these happen. They can happen so many different ways. at Mind Through Medicine Journeys, of course. So with my twin, I had every kernel of knowledge and love. And when I got sucked out of that space, most of the knowledge remained there. That is so amazing. Oh, Bubba's story. Yes, one of the most powerful lessons of forgiveness. Oh my gosh, with his dad. I loved it. I love that he got to see all of the things that made his dad so that he could understand that his dad wasn't trying to be hard on him or cruel to him, but he loved him so much. He was trying to keep him safe and help him to not make different mistakes. So, yes, love that so much. Thank you for sharing all this tonight. We are whole in heaven, and then we grow by glimpsing is antithesis on earth. Oh, thank you, Stardust. Welcome to the channel. Oh, thank you for subscribing. I so appreciate that. And thank you for discussing these mysteries. Okay, you guys, man, that was a lot of energy to tell that story. And I feel really happy and blessed that you guys stuck around to listen to it. And I hope that it has some meaning for you. I'm open to any comments that people want to make. I try to get to all the comments, but man, it has been really tough lately. You guys are like so active now in this community. I feel like it's just growing leaps and bounds. I really, if you want me to answer a comment, your best bet is to answer in the first 24 hours of a video coming out. Beyond that, I'm really not, I mean, the way it works for me on my channel is that there's a tab called community. And what it does is it puts the most recent comment that's posted on all of the videos throughout all of the channel. And I try to get to the ones that are on the current video first so that I'm really engaging with people as they're watching it, because I know it really helps that video to be served to more people. And the goal for me is, if I'm going to do this and spend the time on it, I want these videos to go as far as they can. So if you want to interact with me, come back to Wake Up Wednesdays. And of course, I'm in the comments all the time, every day. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to spend some time with me. I am beyond grateful for the energy that I receive on this channel, for the love that I feel from every one of you. Thank you for all of the views. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for every comment, every like. Everything counts. And I want to thank you, every one of these people who watch this video later, who watch this video live. Thank you for what you are doing to wake up the planet. It is something that is so needed right now. Every single one of us contributes with every smile, with every kindness, with every way that we approach anything in love. So thank you again for being here. Love you all. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Wake Up Live. What is the date for that? That will be on February 25th. So I'll see you guys all later. Thank you for watching.